Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And
welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we just wanted to do a quick little episode here just to people, if you're just getting into fantasy football, you might want to know where to go. Where do you find all this information? What are the best websites to use? Where, we do these shows and we have websites up all the time when we're looking at, you can't do this all on your own. You got to pull from many sources, right? And different stuff. So we thought we'd throw this out there on what we use to, look at, all of our rankings and make our decisions. So wanted to throw that out there. I'm going to actually share my screen a little bit here, Jeff, and just show some of the stuff here that we use, if I can get everything to work. So I'd say the first page that we really like to use, I think FantasyPros is, if you've been into fantasy for a little bit here, I'm sure you already know it, right? But FantasyPros is an awesome resource. Jeff and I are both on the expert ranks, which is awesome too. But right here, this is a great little tool here. This is the auction calculator here, which can give you you go to ESPN, which I'll actually show here in a minute too, but you can go to ESPN and show what their average prices is, but that doesn't really tell you anything based on league size and all that different stuff. You're in FantasyPros, you go here and you can get a good idea of what these prices should be based on standard scoring, PPR, half PPR, 10 teams, 12 teams, all the different teams. You can change your budget. Most people play with $200 budget, but not everyone. We've been hearing a couple $1,000 budget. You go to a $1,000 budget and we're talking values. Look at the $1,000 budget. It's a totally different ball game. So this is awesome tool here in 10 teams. Let's look at this. So 10 teams. Right now we have 12. You drop down to 10 and pricing changes. It just does, So all of a sudden there, look, it's awesome tool. This gives you a really good idea of if you're trying to maybe you're in an auction keeper league and you're trying to get an idea of, is this guy a value for me? So players like Nick Chubb, who on ESPN is undervalued. That's a good tool to look to what format you're using. So Nick Chubb's going for $24 in ESPN. FantasyPros says he should be 36. You're probably getting a steal there. That's an awesome job. Where's AJ Dillon? This is the biggest one, right? You have AJ Dillon.
Yeah, much lower. Yeah,
$16 here on FantasyPros. Let's pull up.
Yeah. What are we getting for? $3?
Let's pull up ESPN. This is ESPN Live Draft Trends. It's another good site, especially if you're using ESPN. Go look up the ESPN Live Draft Trends, and you can get an idea. AJ Dillon, we go down to him. We go find his value right there. I'll highlight it. $2.4 is what he's going for. They have him ranked they have him at $2 value to start. So that's a play right there. If you're on ESPN, you're going to get AJ Dillon at a huge value. Funny enough, Jeff, I don't have this up, but I looked up Nick Chubb earlier on Yahoo. $50 on Yahoo.
Wow.
So it depends big time on what platform you're using and what these values are. But that's why I think FantasyPros here in this gives you a good it more averages it out to what it should be, because ESPN and Yahoo are just so different on what some of these values
without doubt.
are.
And can you go to the overall ranks for this year? I think this is another one. Obviously, we're a big auction proponent, but even if we go here, you can see the combination of all experts and how they rank them, and it will obviously average them out, which gives you a great idea. But if you want to dig even further, you can go into a particular expert. You can look what Craig ranks the person.
You can go click pick experts. You can go search by experts. You can find, we're in here.
So
there's Craig
you can
Phillips.
end up finding someone you really
go
agree
find
with.
My name, click view.
Yeah.
And there's my ranks.
Beautiful. So it gives you a lot of options, and FancyPros really is a great site. I know. Shout out to them. They're wonderful. Craig's been an expert for a while now. This will be my first year doing it. But obviously I've always played around on it, and they have a lot of good information on there. So FancyPros is definitely number one.
They have they have all kinds of, they have ADP tools here, which gives ranks of different sites. They don't use ESPN and Yahoo in standard. They don't, because you have to go to PPR for ESPN to show up, because ESPN standard is PPR, but you can switch between those and they'll average everybody's out between these, all these different formats. even half PPR, then Yahoo will show up on half PPR. So it gets you a good idea of all these things. But there's so many tools here. There's so many things to look at on FancyPros. It's awesome. There's draft wizards, all this different stuff. They're not sponsoring us for this either. We just wanted to get some stuff out there for you guys that really shows you what's good tools to use here. So FantasyPros is awesome. But then other ones, which I love to use all the time, Jeff, is Pro Football Reference.
I absolutely love it. I mean, it really is. It's the nerd site version of this because it is pure stats, and we absolutely love digging into it.
When we talk stats on these shows, this is where we're pulling everything from. So like, and I talk about Mike Williams and how he was great and for a little short period of time. Look at this. You look at his numbers. If this thing will load for me, 76 catches, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. It just looks awesome, right? Let's go to this little game log tool right here. Game logs. Let's look at 2021 game logs. Look how great he was to start the year. 8 for 82, 7 for 91, 7 for 122, only a 1 for 11, 8 for 165. Look at week 5 or week 6 and beyond. Look at that. One game where he got over 100 a year, and then he ended the year, the last game, with another big one. But look at this stretch. 2 for 27, 2 for 19, 2 for 58, 4 for 33. There's a 4 for 39. If you're just, that's what you look at the main stats, you don't know. Go to Pro Football Reference, plug a player in, see how he really did on a weekly basis. And Mike Williams is like one of my best examples for that. I love looking at that one.
Yeah.
But any player, and then you could even go down and see they have a fantasy tab somewhere down there. Not in this page, but there's a fantasy tab. You can see where their finishes were every year in fantasy, right there.
Which is a great one.
151. You didn't play much. Wide receiver 20, wide receiver 37, wide receiver 42, wide receiver 9. So another cool feature there.
And you can spend so much time finding different things. And another one you could find is I used it on the last show we did, and it was the red zone rushing stats from 2021.
Yep.
You can get the percentage of each player of how many times, I have it up still. So Jonathan Taylor had 80% of his team's rushes within the 20, how many touchdowns they got, yardage, all of that. So you can see how these people actually accrued the points. It takes more time to go through it, which is why we kind of do it for people. But if you're ever wondering about a player and you're falling in love with them, I highly recommend looking them up and trying to figure out if it was a fluky thing, and you can figure out like what games they missed and look up their teammates too. Like, okay, was the number 1 wide receiver out? So there's a lot that goes into it, but if you want just pure stats and you're a real nerd about it, this is a great site. You just want to bring it up to you guys.
Yep. Well, this one we showed quick. This is just the ESPN live draft trends. Definitely go look at that if you're drafting on ESPN. If you're drafting on Yahoo, just go search. Yahoo ADP. There you go. And there's theirs. There's their average pick. You can go to salary cap Jeffs, and this I'll show you about Nick Chubb here. Nick Chubb, $50 projected salary is going for 51.2. Totally different.
I feel like we're missing something. That just feels way out of whack.
Totally different ball game on Yahoo when you're drafting Nick Chubb.
It just goes to show. I mean, you really do have to know what platform you're doing. I personally, even though ESPN, I don't think that their values are perfect by any means. I use it to your advantage, but I do like their drafting platform. I do like that more, even though every once in a while they'll move something around to kind of screw it up. But
AJ Dillon projected salary of 23, but he's going for 9.5. Just a different way things happen in there. But yeah, there's Yahoo. So wherever you're drafting, they'll have one of those out there. Check it out. Another site I like is Our Lads. I think Jeff used this too.
I really like it. Yeah, I think they're very, very good at what they do. And even when a new person comes on a team, I think that they have a really good finger on the pulse as far as where they rank and where they're going to play.
Yep. And I love this is just, I look at depth charts here. You look to see kind of an idea of who's around these players. And that's where Jalen Tolbert stood out to us, right? I love looking at Jalen Tolbert, and I was like, wait, they want to show this a month or two ago. There's nobody out there. This one really showed me that. I'm just curious if they had where that's okay. So they do it more realistic here. Yeah. So Tyler Algier on the initial Atlanta Falcons depth chart was RB8. And Drake London was wide receiver 6 or 7 or something ridiculous. But that's just them doing this. They're putting it as Algier should be running back 2. but they have a really good idea of what's around, what these players should be, where they should be. That's when the Cowboys one was a great one to look at before with Tolbert.
Yeah, and especially for rookies and people that have recently moved teams, I think this tool is really interesting to look at because they really do a nice job of fitting them in where they're going to be, especially like wide receivers when you're talking about, left, right, slot, how you're going to move them around. It is really nice to get a general idea of, how many people do they have to overcome in order to get playing time. And, I know Craig, like Tolbert on Dallas, which he just showed, that was a, kind of like oh, wow, like he doesn't have anyone to overcome. Why is no one talking about him?
Yep. Look at the Packers wide receivers, it's Lazard, Watkins, Cobb. So of course we think one of those rookies can break in there, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at stuff, this is another great tool that I like to use.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think it gets enough credit.
And then there's another final one, Fantasy Football Profit. It's always a good one.
Shameless plug.
The Instagram page always has some good stuff on it. You can see a lot of the stuff we talk about on the show. Players we're avoiding, players we think are being drafted too low, auction steals, our mock drafts, overvalued players. One of the drafts I did here. I don't know, Jeff, if you saw this team. This was for the Instagram Experts League. Might as well do a little review.
I'm sad to say, no, I haven't. I haven't seen it.
There's the starting lineup. I went with Derek Carr. I waited around for quarterback, even though this was super flex. I said I'm punting on quarterback. And this is how I play. This is how it played out by punting on quarterback. So the only one I didn't love was Miles Sanders, to be honest, on this page.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. But you fall into, it's an expert league as well, so you have to take some risks. But Hawkinson, Dobbins.
Oh, and then I got Kadarius Toney, Christian Watson, Sky Moore,
Tolbert. Ton of upside and wide receiver at the end. I love that.
Yep.
And so Mostert, I would. He's one of those that if he could just stay healthy, that would be awesome. Anyway. I refrain. Anyway, we're talking about the tools.
Check it out. We'll always have some good stuff here. Is one of my Mike Williams posts. Are you worried? Shows it right there. Weeks 1 through 5, he was wide receiver 1 in standard, wide receiver 2 in PPR. Week 6 through 18, wide receiver 29 in standard, wide receiver 28 in PPR. And you can get that going on Pro Football Reference. Take a look. Oh, another good one. I'll just real quickly throw this out there. I like this one. It's another FancyPros. Like we were talking about FancyPros, but they have so many cool things you can look at. I love looking at their stat leaders page. And this is where you can go into it and okay, you can change the weeks and look, okay, let's just look at the last half of the year last year and who was up there. And you can change it by week. You can change it by scoring format. Let's look at weeks 10 through 18. Rashad Penny, running back 3. Devin Singletary.
This is actually, we talked about this the other day. We're actually going to do a short episode on this. Like the guys that showed up at the last half of the year that we're not talking about nearly as much as we should.
Did you know Devin Singletary was RB6?
I did actually. He's constantly on my shit list because of what he did to me 2 years ago. But yeah, he was surprisingly good in the red zone at the last half of the year.
Yeah, but there we go. Just want to throw some resources out there. If you guys are looking to find some stuff out, those are, I think, good sites. Those are honestly the main stuff we use, I think, all the time. I don't really venture. I'll look through other stuff all periodically, but what the go-tos, those are pretty much always up when we're recording a show. Those are the best sites for everything. So just want to throw those out there for everybody. I don't think you got. I think that was it, Jeff. Right? No more. That's
short
right?
and sweet. We just wanted to share how we did it in case you guys are wondering, or if you need to look up information on your own. The more info, the better. So
definitely. All right, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.